So I think without further ado, I'm going to invite Sriyam to speak to us. It's a pleasure and honor to be sitting next to you, but I think I'd love to listen rather than speak at this point.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, let me start with it's nice to see young people, you know. Let me start with a little story which comes from very ancient sources. You can hear me, right? Very ancient sources. You know, we have in India a religion or a school of thought, can't even call it a religion, called the Jains. Now, one of the key principles of the Jains, it's a very ancient system, is they say ahimsa dharma. Different minds can see different aspects of something. It need not be same. What you see may be the same, but you may be looking at it in different angles. This is what? More than 2,000 years ago, not today. Not part of the debating circuit of the modern world, but 2,000 years ago. Somebody said, you may look at something quite differently from somebody else, so that doesn't mean you're right and the other guy is wrong, or he's right and you're wrong. There are many ways of looking at it. So, based on this, the original source is the Jains. There was a great Sufi teacher who lived in Turkey, in Konya, called Jalaluddin Rumi. Now, he's so respected among the Sufis that is one person people usually add the word Maulana Rumi, which means Sir Rumi, let's put it. If the Queen had knighted him, it would be Sir Rumi. But he also wrote something in prose, which is, few people read it. I mean, some people are not even aware of it. Of course, you would be, but generally. So, apart from Masnavi, what really interested me was his prose work, which is titled Fihi Ma Fihi, which means it is and yet it is not. You understand? So, Rumi had adapted this story from the Jain sources, and he told it in a very simple way for normal people like you and me to understand. And the story is about 3 blind men who went to figure out what an elephant is. You know, the blind cannot see, so they have to touch. So one of them touched the leg of the elephant, and concluded that an elephant's definition is that an elephant is a huge pillar standing there, which sometimes moves, but it's very rough when you touch, like the bark of a tree, and that he has been warned that you don't go too close, because if it falls on your head, you're finished. Right? This is his definition of an elephant. The second blind man, now this is nothing against the blind, please, because I know there are many of us who have eyes but cannot really see. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Our eyes are open, but very often we don't see. No, this is just a story about the blind, okay? So, the second blind man touched the tail of the elephant, and he said, well, an elephant is like a big broom. You know, those days there were no bathroom brushes, so like a broom which keeps moving up and down, side by side and side, this way, that way, and it has sharp bristles, and if you go close, you might get stuck. Now the third man touched the trunk of the elephant. You've seen the elephant's trunk, it's so long, and he decided that an elephant, by definition, is like a big rubber hose which keeps swinging up and down and occasionally makes noises, hissing noises. So the definition of an elephant. Now, as it happens in the world even today, each person insisted that he has the right definition of the elephant. And the discussion became an argument, and the argument became a fight, and then so the fisticuffs going. One guy down, another one sitting on top and trying to strangle him, saying, my definition is right, your definition is wrong. So, by the time somebody walked in who could see, was not blind, who could see. And he looked at them and said, hey, what's going on? Why are you guys fighting with each other? They said, there's this elephant, and this is the definition of an elephant. He said, look, I can see the elephant, okay? So, you're right. Number one is right. Number two, you're right. Number three, you're right. But in the ultimate sense, all of you are wrong, because the elephant is much more than you can think of. With your limited capacity to understand, the elephant is much greater and much more infinite than your little definitions can decide. But you may be right from your point of view. So don't have a fight among you. There's another story by Rumi which is similar to this, about people who have spiritual aspirations and who belong to different religions. He said there were 3 thirsty people going on a trip. They wanted to drink water, they were very thirsty. Now, one was a Greek, so he wanted aqua. The second was an Englishman who wanted water. And there was a man from India who wanted jal, which is a Sanskrit word for water. So again there was a big fight. So what is the thing that we should get to appease our thirst? Until they saw a pond, a river. So all of them got excited and jumped in and started quenching their thirst. Rumi said, the aspiration for unity, the aspiration for humanity, the aspirations for spiritual experience comes to different people in different forms and different words. The definitions are different, but actually in its infinite sense, the ordinary brain, when it realizes that I can't understand this and becomes humble, humility is of the essence, then perhaps one begins to understand a little bit of what's going on in this world. So, you saw that I went on a walk for 7,500 kilometers or whatever. The kilometers are not important. The importance is that we have forgotten to walk. Most of the time we are either flying or we are driving, and the feet that we have, the limbs are given to us to walk, but we don't walk. Even from the health point of view, if you start walking more than you do, I think you'll be more healthy. But that's a separate question. So, people ask me, why did you walk? Why couldn't you go by car? You would have finished it faster. The answer is that when you walk with a common man, believe me, in India there are still people who don't own a car. Especially if you go to villages, they don't have a car. They walk, or they have a bicycle. I would have tried a bicycle, but I was worried about the muscles of the thighs. It's better to walk. And when you walk, it means your feet are on the ground, right? On the earth. So it's a literal understanding of the word, of the phrase, down to earth. And if you are not down to earth, we can't solve a problem. We need to solve this problem. Why did it? Because India is a cauldron, kind of a complete it's not homogeneous, it's kind of a collection, it's a collection of so many religions, so many thoughts, so many ideas. There are Hindus, there are Muslims, there are Christians, there are Sikhs, there are Parsis. Parsis are actually people from Iran who ran away from Iran once upon a time when there was the process of conversion, and they were also granted a place in India. They are today the Parsis, and some of them are among the wealthiest and important people in India. And then the Jews. There was a whole tribe of Jews, that escaped persecution and came to South India in a place called Cochin, and they were also allowed to live there. And they still have the synagogue, but most of them have gone to Israel. There are very, very few families up there. So what I'm trying to say is, in this country, people have come from all over the world. I'm coming back to the United States. In India, I'm talking about from what I know, from my personal experience. And yet somehow we manage to live together. Well, there are problems sometimes that I see. When somebody says, oh, you come from outside, or my religion is better than yours, and so on. But what I'm trying to stress is that among all religions, whatever be your religious background or no religion, the most important thing is humanity. If religion or philosophy doesn't do good to humanity, it's of no use. So, and in the Indian context, once in a while there comes some kind of violence because of discrimination between religions and creeds and so on. So I thought, let me start with India, where I was born. So I walked. As I said, when you walk into a village and people come and welcome you. You must have seen the film. So I was wearing the local dress, which is like a dhoti and a shirt or kurta, and I walked. We have gone to remote areas where the village head came out and welcomed us, made us sit under a tree, and over a cup of tea we discussed how to sort things out, how to live in peace, because peace is of the essence. You can have everything, but there is no peace, there is no security, and there is no humanity. See? So this is why I walked. I think in contemporary times Gandhi walked quite a distance in India. In fact, some parts of the route that we took were once upon a time already covered by Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. So from my spiritual experience, have understood one thing. I'm saying this with complete humility, that like the elephant, which can't be defined by the ordinary mind, by a limited intelligence, there is something which is vast and all-pervading in this universe. And it is not as if it's inaccessible, it's there as love, affection, and humanity in every human being's heart. So if we can tap that and go to the core of our consciousness and look at the temple in the heart where sits the spark of the divine, then we will no longer be violent towards somebody else. No longer will we become intolerant. We will consider everybody as the same family. Even biologically, all of us, whatever be our names, whichever religion we belong to, we are the result of 3,000 years of genetic evolution. We can't be different. We are the same. The human genes are the same. In fact, I'm sure some of you know that the difference between the chimpanzee and the human chromosomes is the chimpanzee has one more than us. The other day somebody was telling me this about the monkey sitting on the tree and saying that man descended, we make no fuss. But brother, he didn't descend from us. That's become our state. So, it's the responsibility of individuals like you and me. Don't leave it to the politicians, don't leave it to the philosophers. It's a responsibility for you and me, especially the young, because you are the future of the world. Plant this seed in your hearts that we are all human beings. We are the same. We may have different names, different situations, different conditions, different religions, different color, different gender, but we are the same. This is one thought which I have been carrying not only in India but also to other parts of the world. We had a beautiful walk for peace and hope in Germany, where we didn't take the Indian flag, of course. And we had another one in Hague, in International Court of Justice. The walk ended there, And there were so many thousands of students walking from the school. That was interesting because I believe that the younger generation has the future of this world in their hands. That's where the seeds have to come. And now we are also planning a walk in Switzerland from Interlaken in July to Bern, which will take about 7-8 days. I'm doing nothing, I'm just going to walk. Everybody's organizing it. I'm not a good organizer. In fact, the problem of how truth, which in reality is for all humanity, has come to this state where people fight among each other, kill each other, because you belong to some other country or some other race or some other religion, is precisely because the organization or the shell has become more powerful than the core. I'm going to tell you another story, which my friends who know me have heard many times, but this is a beautiful story. It was told to me by a great philosopher whose name was J. Krishnamurti, with whom I was associated from the last part of his life quite closely. So one day we were just talking about something, and he said, I'm going to tell you a story. What is the story? The devil and his good friend, please, this is a story, there's no devil anywhere. Actually, a negative human being becomes a devil. And a good human being is an angel. So, for the purpose of the story, the devil and his good friend, very close friend, went for a walk. So the friend went down and the devil went down and picked something from the lawn, from the grass, and put it in his pocket. So his friend asked him, what did you pick up just now? He said, I just picked up the truth, T-R-U-T-H. So his friend said, then your days are numbered, because you're the opposite of truth, you're falsehood, you're darkness, and you picked up the light, which is the truth. So your days are numbered, you're going to go soon, finished. So apparently the devil touched him on his shoulders affectionately and said, don't worry, friend, I'll organize it. You know what I mean? Of course, for anything to function, you need an organization, agreed. But if the shell, which is the outward organization, which sometimes is coupled with imperialist designs and so on, and politics, but that becomes stronger than the core, this is the result. So we should take care that while we use organization, we use it for a good purpose to bring people together and not to divide. Now, I walked in the Indian context. I told you about that. Look at the United States of America. It's a glorious country. Thousands of people, diverse civilizations, people from all over the world have come here and established this civilization. Is it worth to break it now? It's such a wonderful thing. I think this country should be holding the flag of unity, humanity, and freedom first. Because you see here, it's a country made of immigrants originally. And today it's one country. And I personally think that while Mr. Kapoor and a few friends were talking about the walk of hope and peace in Washington, D.C., I said, I'll do it. Secretly, somebody told me, what if somebody shoots you down? I said, good to have a martyr. I think it's about time that we all think about this, because we can't let the glory of this nation go. It's so wide, it's so wonderful. I think everyone should contribute to this. I'm ready to spearhead it, not as an agitation, but as a gesture of peace and goodwill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think it will be wonderful to hear from all of you, but before you do that, I'm going to use the seat that I have here and ask my question. I think that as educators, we really need to learn how to bring this message into the classroom and into the education system. Very often we think that, oh, we know these formulas and theories and things like that, and speak at an abstract level, where students' lives and everybody's life is down to earth, as you say, at the actual day-to-day level. What is your advice for educators?
I don't want to consider myself an authority on this, so I don't know whether I can advise you, but I'm sure I can have some suggestions. I have some.
Absolutely.
And these suggestions have been inculcated in some way in those little schools that we run. I was amazed when I came to Himalayan University. It's huge. It's like an ocean. We have small ponds out there. So, but even there, we have tried to inculcate it that from the time the children come, apart from academics, academics is easy. It's not so difficult. But humanity is not so easy. So I personally think that in every university, there should be groups or clubs which discuss human unity. I'm sure you have clubs, but this would be specifically to discuss how we have a common origin and how, when we die, we all go to the same grave. So we can't wait till we go to the grave to rest in peace, R.I.P. We need to have peace now. So for this, my master, my spiritual teacher used to say, R.I.P. means rise if possible. Nobody can rise. So can we have peace before that? So I think it is the responsibility of teachers like you, professors, teachers on the faculty, to have groups of young people meeting together. They can argue, it doesn't matter. As long as there are no fisticuffs, it's okay. Because they should be allowed to vent their feelings. The young always like to vent their feelings. There should be no condition on that. But the subject should be, are we not all human beings? Shouldn't we live in peace in this world? I think that could be one of the things that one can do. And we should also live as an example to this. It's very easy to talk about it, but in our daily lives we should inculcate it, because the children, the younger generation, is very intelligent. They're very sharp. So we can't do one thing and say another. They'll catch us immediately. So we should also do it. We should live our lives and,
Live what we teach.
Exactly.
Okay. Yes. May please. First, do you want to get this if you think that?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Fatima, for organizing this event. And Honorable Shriyan, it's an honor to be with you. And what you're doing is something that's extremely needed in our world. I think every single person in this room totally supports what you're doing, your marches for peace and hope. The question remains, how do we convince others who really do not believe that they can solve problems peacefully, and they think the only way to solve problems is through force and violence? How do we do that? I mean, we struggle with it. We try our best by talking to them or writing, but they still use violence. What are your words of wisdom about that?
It's a wonderful question, ma'am, which you asked, because I have myself encountered these problems. You're right. It's not easy, but I think we shouldn't stop doing it. We shouldn't admit defeat. and back off. I think it needs constant, repeated pressure from our side for peace and humanity. There's no other way. It should start, I think, from a classroom more than anything else, so that when the students grow up, these seeds that we sow in them will nurture into a beautiful tree. And then when they take over, things will be better. Now, as it is, we cannot go back. We need to walk in front. We need to press. We need to, because for hundreds of years, if things have been going in one way, it's not so easy to turn it around. It's not easy. Like most people are going with the stream, with the current. And somebody stands up and says, I'm going to swim against the stream. It's not easy. But responsible people like us should not give up. There's no other way. We need to repeat. You need to.
Am I allowed to do a small follow-up?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you're totally convinced that it starts in the schools, not the universities even. I want to clarify that. In the schools, in primary and secondary, and the way we teach math and language, we should teach
Humanity.
Peace. Humanity.
Yeah, peace.
So math is important, language is important, science is important, humanity and peace is a topic to be taught in the schools.
Yes, because you see how important it is. If you don't have peace, years of all studies and science can be destroyed in a minute. Imagine some mad guy pressing a button and throwing a hydrogen bomb or something. What happens to all that civilization that took place till then? It's reduced to ashes. When Genghis Khan went on his spree of attacking and conquering, beautiful libraries were destroyed. And even today we can't recover those manuscripts that were destroyed. So we need to start from childhood. I'm not saying we need to do any propaganda, but we need to make children understand and the parents understand that to teach about peace and humanity is as important as science and technology. Science and technology can survive only if the human race survives. And if there is violence, and human race cannot survive. We don't want to start once more with bow and arrows from the caveman stage.
Can I also follow up on that? You know, I think May Satarehani, I should say, puts her finger on a very important thing. Often when we do these things, we get those who already want to do it, who already committed. How do we reach other people? Now, a group of people are those who would say these are not important subjects or think differently. But a group of very well-meaning people will also tell you that we need to change the structures. These words are not going to get us anywhere. Resources are distributed unevenly. A few people, I don't know how many percent of the world population, a very small percentage, owns everything, and then the rest goes to the rest of the world. So when you're faced with that, what do you tell people?
So you see now that this is a very revolutionary way of restructuring economy itself. Economy should be based more on humanity than on power. The power that becomes the problem, and well, experiments have been tried, like communism, where they said, let's equally distribute wealth. It never happens because human beings are self-centered, selfish by nature, so it's quite not practical to do that. I don't think anywhere in the world communism has, having contributed to the equality of human beings, has succeeded, at least that much. No. So what's the solution? The solution is most importance should be given to human beings than what they possess. And for that, a human being should become less selfish so that he or she can share what you have with others. Governments are not going to do it. We have to start working from our side. We need to share, we need to, especially the young, need to understand that we can survive without all this, too many things, so that the other person can get it. One part of the world is rich, another part of the world is poor. And also in the same part of the world there are some rich and some poor. You see, it's not as if it's only in a nation, it happens everywhere. So this feeling or understanding should be inculcated. So this is why I'm saying that it should be part of a curriculum everywhere, in universities, in schools. Then why is it now that people are thinking this way? Because the education has been of this nature. Change, we have to change the education system where the human being becomes more important than anything else. I'm saying this because we are in a university, you're all members of the faculty.
So we're getting close to the end of the conversation. I would encourage the students with any thoughts, please. It's very informal, so yes, I see a hand there, up there, please.
Thank you very much for this talk. I think this seed that you were talking about just bloomed. I'm a student of Milan, and I moved here I think 8 months ago, and since then I have this feeling that my life really has started. And every day when I'm reading the news, I feel that I have to do something. There are many difficult things in the world, but there's violence, there's genocide, and I worry. I have accepted that there is an elephant, and everyone has a different angle, and I respect that. But I think that's passive. That's passive. I want to do something active, and I wanted to know your suggestion. What would you do if you were a student here? Thank you.
Yes, this is the spirit that we need. What's your name?
My name is Ghazal.
Huh?
Ghazal.
Ghazal.
Like the ghazal in poetry.
Ghazal. Okay, poetry. Okay, so that was a wonderful thing that you said just now. So shall I suggest something for this? We have the United Nations, right? There's an organization called United Nations. There should be something called United Humans, because nations become a little different. You say United Humans, UH. Maybe from your classroom, from your college, from your institution, you would start making the foundations for something called UH, United Humanity. And this is not passive, this is very active. So go around, talk to your classmates, say let's form a small organization now at the school, college level, which is called United Humanity, not United Nations, United Humanity, so that it cuts across all barriers. So have debates about this, and if possible, gather a few people and say, we have decided to live together in peace as human beings, and take little walks so that people can see you doing it, so the message can be spread. And the media is very powerful. Don't forget to call up the press.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Another student. Your voices are very important. Don't be shy. Yes.
Very brief question. Shall I?
Yes, you can.
So more on the personal side, if you will. I like your heart type of approach. That's why you like to walk, and I really, really appreciate that. And so spanning your 7,500 kilometers, what are some of the stories that you've collected that have kind of resonated with you?
Yeah. It's a good question.
Yes, it's a wonderful question.
When we started out on this walk, I had absolutely no hope that this walk of hope is going to work. I started out with a complete open mind, saying, let's try it, why not? Let's see what happens. So, when I said this to a friend of mine, who was a senior bureaucrat, he said, I'm ready to work with you. So I said, hey, this guy is ready to work with me, so let's talk to others. Slowly it came off. And when we started the walk, we had a core group of 90 people walking with us. And as we walked, this 90 became 200, 200 became... There were some times when we were walking through the middle of India, almost the middle, when there were 2,000-3,000 people walking with us. And they were so thrilled, they were throwing flowers at us. I said, please listen to what we are saying, no point throwing flowers. I like flowers as they are in the plants, not on my head. So, you know what I mean. So, anyway, so we started the walk. And we had these wonderful experiences with ordinary people whom we can call the poor section of the public. Not so much the rich people. If a rich man comes and helps you with the walk, he would like to put up a banner or something which says that so-and-so helped us to walk. But there were people, ordinary common men, who came forward and helped us in many ways. I can give you one or two examples. There's a kind of pumpkin that is sold in India. It's not pumpkin, what's it? Watermelon, watermelon. And so it was summer when we were walking through one part of India. And there are these guys selling watermelons on the road. They just put up a little thatched shed and they have the watermelons. So just before we had about 300 people walking at that time. It had increased to 300. So there always was an advance party which would go kind of recce the place. So the advance party went, and they went in a car, and they got down, and they told this gentleman, I think he was a Muslim gentleman, I forget his name, and a man whose livelihood was selling these watermelons. So he got down and said, there's a walk of peace that is coming. It should reach here in about 2 hours. How many watermelons can you give? Because there are about 300 and odd people. Can you? This guy said, I have some, but I can get some from the store. Then he asked us, what is this walk about? He asked the other guys. They explained it to him. He said, doesn't matter. Let any number of people come. We'll still give them the watermelons. So these guys said, so how much would it cost? He got very angry. He said, why are you talking about money? Why are you talking about the cost? It's such a noble thing that's being done. And if I can't give even a watermelon, what is my life worth? See this? He was not a rich man. His life depended on it. So, like this, we had a number of... I can quite remember walking, suddenly I felt like having a cup of tea. You know, when you are deprived, you sometimes feel like... So there was a roadside tea shop. So I decided I'm going to have tea. I asked the people who were with me, do you all want to have a cup of tea? I said, watch out, it's a very small tea shop. So keep your money ready. Okay, so let's go and have. So we went. First this guy gave me tea, and then he gave the guy who was walking with me, and then the other guy, and so on, and he started giving a number of cups of tea. So when I was leaving, I told him, please calculate how many cups of tea you have supplied, so that we don't want you to incur This is very interesting. He looked like a very stern man, the sharp guy with a big mustache and so on. He burst out crying. He said, "No charge for this tea. If you ask me again, I'm going to hug you and cry." These are these little things that contribute, you know. There was a cab driver who came near me and took 100 rupees. It's nothing, 100 rupees. For us it is quite a bit, 100 rupees. And he put it in my pocket. I said, "What's this?" He said, "This is half day's earnings that I have. Please use it for your work." I said, "Are you joining us for the walk?" He said, "If I join you for the walk, I'll go hungry today. I have half a day to work with the cab. But evening, when you have your gathering, I'll come." See, why I'm saying this specifically is because it's the common man who needs to get into this. If that happens, nobody can what shall I say? If the ordinary human being like you and me begin to think about this and take whatever action is necessary, no power on earth can stop us.
I think it's wonderful that you're calling it the walk of hope. And I remembered when I first saw your message that Rumi, whom you quote, he views hopelessness as almost a sin. As you have to be hopeful. And the metaphor he uses is that we are like birds. One of our wings could be fear, but the other one, we need a second wing. If we don't have the wing of hope, we can't do it just with hesitation and fear. So I think it's really amazing, this inserting hope in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you came up with the
I don't know
hope,
myself. It just happened.
Amazing.
And since you are talking about Rumi, there's one little thing I want to say about this, because love, affection, humanity, sweetness in dealing with people is the most important virtue that a human being can have. And Rumi said, even if you live among adverse circumstances, even if you live in muck, sometimes it happens that we are in the muck. He said, look at the example of the sugar cane, which sucks in all the muck from the earth and gives you sugar, sweet sugar. So that should be, try to extract sweetness from everything that we see and everything that we experience, and we'll soon discover that even what we consider normally to be bad still has a spark of goodness there. If we are able to see this, then I think we can change. There's nobody bad, really. Maybe different point of view, that's it.
So is your DC walk a promise?
I don't know.
Can you take a promise? And let's say that a group in UMD students will get together and,
Sure.
and communicate with you
Sure.
so that they would join that walk?
Sure, of course.
Okay.
It
So
has
I
to be at
promise you-
least a day's walk, at
A
least.
day's walk, okay. The Roshan Institute would be a part of it. I'm sure that other units, I can see the smile on Pradeep's face, so I'm sure there will be other people and then the students, so,
We will also try to bring in some diplomats and some people from
Yes.
political parties, but cutting across barriers
Yes,
as human beings.
yes, yes. All right, well, on that note, allow me just to remind you of one thing. Unfortunately, we will not be able to sell the books and the CDs here because apparently there had to be some arrangement with the bookstore. But there is instruction for you to go online and order them. So make sure that you get that orders. Thank you all for coming, and thank you,
Thank you very much.
for joining us. It's been a tremendous honor and pleasure.
Thank you so much.